All right, so welcome to the Transfer PowerPoint and Orientation Materials presentation. Um, this is module one of the module 2s in your Canvas site. So this PowerPoint is specifically for transfer students or those students that attended a community college before coming to Davis or a secondary university before coming to Davis. So if you are a first year freshman, just came from high school, your presentation is going to be labeled first year PowerPoint and orientation materials, so please go back and watch that one. This presentation is not for you. You don't need to watch that. But if you are in the right place and you are a transfer student, welcome. This PowerPoint is going to go over, just as it says, orientation materials and some basic knowledge that you'll need for the program. So first things first, we're going to go over the Global Disease Biology core courses. This is not a comprehensive list of all of the required coursework that you're going to take, but the rest of that will be shown on the next slide, so you will get all of it. But to start, Global Disease Biology lower division coursework is going to be GDB 90, which is Introduction to Global Disease Biology. I'd love it if some of you were able to take this quarter, and the rest of you will probably be able to take it next quarter in winter. That is going to start with Dr. David Rizzo, who is the head of our department and the man who founded the major. Next is going to be SAS 13, Disease and Society. Hopefully some of you will be able to take that this quarter as well, this coming fall quarter, and then the rest of you will be able to take it in winter. Super fun class. If you like that class, you're in the right spot. Moving on to the Global Disease Biology upper division coursework, PMI 129Y is that One Health class I was telling you about in the first PowerPoint, Human, Animal, and Environmental Interfaces, so the class completely dedicated to One Health and how global disease biology works within that One Health model. VME 158, Infectious Diseases in Ecology and Conservation. That is a super popular class. Students really love that. We'll probably have you take that either in winter or in spring. Oh, and PMI is going to be taken in fall or winter. So hopefully some of you can get into it this coming fall, and then hopefully the rest of you will be able to take it in winter. Next is going to be GDB 101, which is Epidemiology. I've not heard a bad thing about this class. It's one of our most popular classes, and it is required, so you'll all get to take that. Junior or senior year, so either this year or next year, or depending on how many years you're going to be here. I would say most students end up taking that in their senior year, and that's going to be either in fall or winter. GDB 102, Disease Intervention and Policy. We talked about this a little bit in the last PowerPoint as well. That's also taught by Dr. Rizzo, and that's your capstone course. So that's going to be one of the last classes you take as a GDB major. It's only offered in spring, so you'll take that the last spring that you are here. Moving on, pathogen and disease courses. So there are kind of a lot of them. As you can see, don't worry, you don't need to take all of these. You'll take 2 of these. You're welcome to take more than 2. Any more than 2 that you take will be counted as restricted electives, which will be in a later PowerPoint kind of explaining how that all works. But just know that you can take more than 2 if more than 2 of them sound interesting to you. So PLP 120, Introduction to Plant Pathology, that's a really popular one. PLP 130 is pretty new, Fungal Disease and Biology, but I've heard great things about it. This next one's a little bit weird, Mike 162, General Virology, or PMI 128, Biology of Animal Viruses. You can't take both, cannot take both classes. You can take one or the other. The reason for that is that they are very similar courses, so you can't get course credit for both. So if virology is interesting to you, either of those are a very good option. PMI 127, Medical Bacteria and Fungi, and 153, Medical Entomology. Again, another class that I have not heard a bad thing about. Really, really popular. And 156, Biology of Parasitism, also really popular. And then GDB 103, the Microbiome of People, Animals, and Plants, is probably a student favorite, I would say, of our pathogen and disease courses. So you might already have kind of a general idea of which of these pathogen and disease courses you want to take. You might not. That's fine. Most students take them junior and senior year, but I'd say more specifically mostly the senior year. It is recommended that you have at least the biology series for most of these courses. So if you are an incoming transfer student without biology, please let us know in your individual advising appointment so we can go over how that will affect your timeline. But yeah, so take a look at these, browse the course catalog, see what sounds interesting, but we'll talk more about which ones you specifically want to do into your individual advising appointments. All right, other required coursework. So this is going to be different for everyone, because some of you will have come in with almost all of this completed, at least the lower division portion. Some of you will come in with maybe only one thing or two things completed. So just keep in mind that that will change how long you're going to be here. And we do touch on that a little bit in a later slide. But if you've already done these requirements, great. If not, please note that you will have to do them. So general chemistry, inorganic chemistry, the Chem 2A, B, and C, that is required. Organic chemistry is a little bit of a weird one because we allow for 2 different series to be taken. So you can either do the Chem 8 A and B, or you can do the Chem 118 A and B. If you're going into a pre-health, pre-med, pre-dental, pre-vet, some grad schools, they'll want you to take an entire year of inorganic chemistry. If that is the case, just let us know. You will have to take the Chem 118 A, B, and C for that. We do allocate time for that in your major plan, but just let us know because we do need to know. If you're taking the 8 series, the only things offered are Chem 8A, 8A, and 8B, so there is no C, so no need to worry about that. So if you're not pre-med, if you don't think you want to go into vet school, med school, or even certain vet schools, you won't need to take the 118 series, so you don't need to worry about that. Like I said, a lot of you probably will have done this at your community college, and that's great. Next is Biz 2A, B, and C. Those are introduction to biology labs. Those are very important. Like I said, some of you might not have to do that here. You might have done it at your previous college, and that is completely fine. Physics 7A and B, similar to organic chemistry. There is also a C offered at Davis, but the global disease biology requirement is only 7A and 7B, but same thing, if you want to go to med school, vet school, you may need the C, so just let us know. Math, 17A, B, and C are required if you are starting the calculus series at Davis. If you started the series at a community college, you can continue that series, whatever it may be. So if that was 21 or 16 or whatever it was, you can continue that series. And even if you started this 21 series at a community college, I'll allow you to take the 16 series when you get here. The 17 series is pretty specific. So if you are a transfer student that hasn't done any math, we will require you to start with the 17 series. But if you started math at a different college and it was not the 17, we will allow you to continue with the 16. That is going to be completely person by person basis. So when we have our individual appointments with you, just let us know which of those boats you are in so that we can help you plan for those. And statistics, we require 13, but you are also welcome to take Stats 100 or PLS 120. I personally would recommend Stats 13. It should cover all of the requirements that you need for any post-secondary education. And then we're jumping to upper division, Biz 101, genes and gene expression or genetics, Biz 105, biochemistry. You can also take Biz 102 and 103. They all cover the same information. So you either take Biz 105 or Biz 102 and 103. Either of these is fine. Just let us know what you prefer. We can kind of explain the difference to you on an individual basis if you do think you want to opt to do 102 and 103 instead. EVE 100, Introduction to Evolution, and then Mike 102 and 103L, which is Introduction to Microbiology and the lab associated with it. Generally speaking, you do not take those in the same quarter. You take Mike 102 first and then Mike 103L the next quarter. So we will kind of help you work that into your plan as well. Placement tests. Okay, so please note that if you are starting either the Chem 2A series or the Math 17A series or 21 or 16 series for math, you do need to take a placement test, and that is regardless of whether you are a transfer student or a first-year student. If you are starting the series, you need to take a placement test. The chemistry placement test requirement to start Chem 2A is a 24 or above. The math placement test for 17A is a score of 30 or above, and remember, like I said, if you are starting math here, we do require you to take the 17 series. So just note that I've put the URL links here for more information about those placement tests. Those will include placement test dates, which you will also probably get emails for. So just make sure you put those on your calendar because you want to have those placement tests taken and done by the time you register for classes. If you miss that placement test round, there will probably be another one right before school starts, but you want to make sure that you know that you're going to get into the class before registering. So please try to take those as soon as possible. If you are a student that's a transfer and needs to take Chem 2A or Math 17A, please remind us to talk to you about these placement tests when you have your individual advising appointment, just so we can go over everything with you and make sure that you're on the right track. Okay, so restricted electives. Restricted electives are something that make the GDB major pretty unique. These are at least 25 units of other classes, kind of your choice. We'll do an entire presentation on these in a little while, but just to give you a general rundown of information, these are classes that you generally take in your last and second to last year here at Davis, and they are units that we give you to kind of make the degree what you want. So you remember us talking about the One Health model, people, plants, animals, and the environment? This is where you get to pick one or more of those categories and really dive into the health and disease aspects that you like about them to kind of personalize your degree. So for example, I was a global disease biology major. I minored in human sexualities, but I emphasized my restricted electives in public health. So I took, I think, 4 or 5 of my restricted elective courses in public health, and because that's what I wanted to do after graduation. So these restricted elective units are really there to serve you and to give you the room to explore A, what you want to do after graduation, and B, what you're going to do your practicum on. So if there are certain classes that your practicum mentor wants you to take or would prefer you to have, this is a degree requirement that's built in for you to get those classes and get credit towards your degree for those classes. So like I said, there will be an entire PowerPoint later on, so I don't want to take up too much time on this right now, but we will go in much more depth into this because most of you will probably start off taking this coming fall quarter with a restricted elective, if not this quarter, for sure in winter. So just be ready, start kind of thinking about what's interesting to you about the global disease biology One Health model, and we will get to that in a couple PowerPoints. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to be a little bit brief on the general education coursework requirements. Some of you may have a Get Seed. If yes, you're all set. You don't really need to worry about this slide. Just make sure that this college has received your Get Seed paperwork from your community college. You can check with admissions via admissions.ucdavis.edu, and just check and make sure that they've received your Get Seed because that exempts you from any further GE requirements. If you haven't IGETSE'd, or if you haven't fulfilled, or if you only have a partial IGETSE, go ahead and stay with me and I'll kind of go over what that means. So GEs have 2 main categories, topical breadth and core literacies. Topical breadth includes like the broader categories, arts and humanities, science and engineering, and social sciences, while core literacies are pretty specific. You can have literacy with words and images, or civic and cultural literacy, and there's subcategories within those. I'm not a GE advisor, I'm a major advisor, so I will let this video on the left explain most of that to you. If you have any questions, please ask the Dean's Office advisor. You can just go to their website and find their contact information, but they are your contact for all things GEs. I can answer any general, like super general questions you have after watching the video, but go ahead and take the Dean's Office as your point person for that. So we touched on this a little bit, but we're going to go over it in a little bit of a fuller extent. How long will it take to finish my degree? So generally speaking, these are not hard and fast rules, but generally speaking, from what we have seen, it takes you about 2 years if you've taken basically all of the prerequisites. So 1 year of calc, 1 year of general chemistry, a year of organic chemistry, a full series of bio, and a full series of physics, and generally a statistics class, but you can get away with that one. So if you've taken everything, 2 years, you're probably totally set, good to go, because those are generally what people take in their first 2 years here at Davis. You have about 2.5 years left, so 2 years and 2 quarters or 2 years and a quarter at the very minimum. If you've completed a year of general chem and bio, but maybe not organic chemistry, physics, or calculus, or maybe you only completed part of organic chemistry or bio, or maybe you have a couple calculus quarters left to take. So if you've done most of it, but maybe you're missing a couple things here or there, you're probably going to add about 2 quarters. 3 years or more, if you haven't taken any of the full series, it's going to take you a hot minute to get out of here. Generally, I would say about 3 years, 3 or more years, depending on if you're willing to take summers. Maybe you only have general chemistry, but no organic chemistry. So you have a full year of organic chemistry to take. Maybe you have general chemistry, but no bio, which is another full year. Or maybe you have part of gen chem and bio, part of calculus, no physics or OChem. Then it's probably going to take you 3 or more years to get out of here, so to get your degree. Like I said, these are not hard and fast rules. These can be changed, and it is all completely dependent on the individual, but this is kind of the plan that we go off of when we're looking at the articulated courses that we have from your community colleges when we're creating your first academic plan for you. So keep this in mind, that this is how we do it. Don't bite our heads off if you don't like your schedule. We are very more than willing to work on it with you and help you figure out what works best for you. We just try to get as much out of this as we can. So we have reviewed all of your articulations, all of your everything when we get this. So just keep in mind, this is kind of the general rule of thumb that we go off of, but it's not the end all be all. So how many units should you as an individual take? Generally, on average, it's about 15 units per quarter to graduate in 4 years, and an average of 12 units per quarter to maintain minimum progress. And that 12 units per quarter is also maintaining full-time status. Summers are a little different. That's only 6 units to maintain full-time status for both sessions. So 6 units over the total of both sessions. So that could be 6 units in one, 0 in another, 3 and 3, 4 and 2, 6 in 1, doesn't matter, as long as you have 6. Falling below minimum progress or the 12 units per quarter average can result in academic probation, but don't panic. There's always ways to make up those units, including summer or taking a little bit of a heavier load the next quarter. For this first quarter, we do tend to recommend you stick more towards the 12 to 13 unit mark. Coming from community college and other universities, most of you are going to be coming from the semester system. And going from the semester system to the quarter system might not seem like a big deal, but it is a very large adjustment. And we prefer that you take that time that you would have been in those extra units. So when you're only in 12 to, make friends, get to know the community, get to know the campus, get to know your resources, do really well in those first couple classes so that you're really setting yourself up for success in winter quarter. It's just not worth taking 14 to 16 units in this first quarter if you don't have to. Generally, we see that students don't do as well when they do that, so we would recommend sticking to that 12 to 13 mark. Please keep in mind, so this is a transfer sample schedule. Chances are it won't look like this. This is kind of a very much, if you finished every single thing before you got here and all of these classes were open, this is what would be ideal, but know that everyone's schedule is not going to be the same. The above is a very generic schedule. Yours will likely be very different than this, so don't panic. It's totally fine. We will help you in your individual advising appointments find your perfect schedule. All right. The next point I kind of want to touch on is to take care of yourself. Things to keep in mind. Our major's intense. The pace is up to you. We try to make it so that you don't have to take any more than 2 heavy science classes per quarter. Some of you may well want to take more than that. Some of you will want to take less. I don't really recommend going too much higher than that, but it completely depends on the individual. Maybe science is really your thing and you're really good at it, and you're not as good at the arts and humanities and social sciences, and you need to kind of budget around that. That's fine. Just let us know. We can help you. We're here to help you. That's our job. But keep track of your mental health. Make sure that the pace is good for you. It's important to do a weekly, if not a daily, check-in with yourself. Make sure that you're good to go mentally, that you're feeling okay, that you're feeling not super overwhelmed, that if you need to talk to someone, do it. Be honest with yourself and your abilities, both strengths and weaknesses. They have so much tutoring available on this campus, it's not even funny. I will attach a tutoring map to the Canvas, but use it. Bio, OChem, upper division bio, genetics, everything you can think of, there is a tutoring session for that. So please don't be afraid to use tutoring. It is an invaluable resource here at Davis. And don't forget that you have a network here to support you. You not only have our advising office, who cares so much about your success, you also have the dean's office who is here to help you succeed, all of your instructors and TAs, student health and counseling services, anything and everything you can think of. We have it here to support you, so please use it. Especially as transfer students, I want to stress that you belong here, and we are always here to support you. I know that it's a transition coming from a community college into a UC system. You earned the right to be here, and you are amazing, and you've got this, and we are here to support you. And my final point is going to be that mental health is health. If you are not mentally healthy, you are not going to be physically healthy. You are not going to be happy. We want to prioritize that you're thinking of yourself and putting yourself first, and also checking in with your peers and making sure that your peers are okay as well. Be there for each other. Be there for each other, but we're here for you too. All right, and a couple transfer frequently asked questions, or FAQs. We kind of went over this one, but will I be able to complete my degree in 2 years? Completely depends on what lower division coursework you completed at your community college. If you want to go back to slide 7, it'll give you a pretty good idea about how long your degree will take. So definitely use that as a resource. How do I articulate the courses I've taken into community college? Great question. Don't worry, we do this for you. When you sign your intent to register, we are provided a list of your coursework that you took at former colleges. So we take this information and hand articulate it using assist.org and our programmatic resources that we have. And we use these articulations to create a personalized 2-year schedule for each of you. So we get these at the time you SIR, so that means that if you took something over summer or if you finished a class in spring that wasn't on your transcript that we got, let us know, because we can make those changes to your academic plan based on what you let us know. So they're going to be as accurate as we had the ability to make them, but if their class is missing from there, don't get mad at us. We just didn't have the information. Just let us know in your advising appointment, and we can definitely fix that for you. But we're here to help you, so let us know, make sure we have all the information, and you should be all set. Continuing with those frequently asked questions, will the lower division courses I took at a community college count here as prerequisite courses? Great question. Yes. The tricky part comes when sometimes they don't automatically articulate through Assist as the correct series. So for example, sometimes a course will articulate, instead of like Biz 2A, it'll say Biz TR1 if there isn't a direct articulation. Don't worry too much about this. Whenever you need to register for a course and it needs like Biz 2A as a prereq and yours is coming across as Biz TR1, you can always fill out a prerequisite petition on Schedule Builder and attach a copy of your transcript, basically just saying like, yes, I completed what Assist says is the equivalent of this course. Here's a transcript to prove it. But there's also something you can do to make your life easier and to make it so you don't have to fill out a million prerequisite petitions, and that's a force articulation. I've attached on this slide actually the force articulation directions, and it will also be on Canvas as a separate attachment. So make sure you go through that. It's pretty simple. You're gonna, kind of go through admissions.ucdavis.edu when you're ready to do that, and then also the UC Davis department that the class articulates to. So say it's Biz 2A, you're going to go to the biology department, bring a transcript, bring a course syllabus, a course schedule if you have it, and then UC Davis will decide if that course is equivalent, and then admissions can get that switched for you. But like I said, if you don't feel like going through that work, you can still do a prerequisite petition. Just recognize that every class that has that class as a prerequisite, you will have to fill out a petition. So it can be a little bit time consuming, but it's up to you whether or not you want to do a forced articulation or not. Last but not least, I want to introduce you to a cool opportunity we have here at Davis. We have these things called First Year Aggie Connections. They're not just for freshmen, they're also for first year transfer students. So if you're a little nervous about adjusting into Davis, finding opportunities, building confidence, these are amazing resources. The First Year Aggie Connections website, it's just fyac.ucdavis.edu. You can go on and kind of find a list of them if you're interested, but one I'd like to specifically point you in is if you are nervous about finding research opportunities, specifically for the practicum project, which is a requirement for our major. For transfer students, I specifically recommend our FIAC that we teach as an advising office. It's called You in Research. We focus on creating opportunities to help you find a lab or research project that you could use as your practicum project. So we do things like mock interviews, we review scientific papers and make sure you know how to read them and gain the important information. We provide group advising sessions, we draft emails to professors and help you reach out to professors with a resume and, get everything ready to meet with them to get an opportunity. And we create and foster confidence when talking to these professors. So just a cool opportunity to keep in mind. If you're interested, I'll attach the flyer to the Canvas as well, but just something to keep in mind. So thank you for sticking it out this far. This has been the Transfer PowerPoint and Orientation Materials presentation. So go ahead and take the quizzes associated with this module, Module 2. Make sure you look at the attachments and then take the quizzes, and then you can go ahead and move on to Module 3, General Resource Guide.